Just then, the smart band informed them that the scheduled appointment time had ended. Quinn sighed disappointedly upon hearing this, saying, "It seems like both times the results were pretty bad." Calvin heard this and comforted, saying, "Don't be sad. There will be even worse times in the future." However, Quinn was so upset that she didn't want to pay attention to him. Calvin, seeing this, sincerely comforted her, saying, "Don't be too sad. Let me tidy up the house for you." He was mopping the floor when he asked Quinn, "Is your sprained foot still hurting from last time?" After shaking his head, Quinn nodded. Calvin, seeing this, said, "Let me give you a massage. That should help." However, Quinn said, "You're not trying to take advantage of me, are you?" "Haha, who cares about your stinky feet? I'm worried that if your feet don't get better by next Monday's physical test, you won't be able to participate. I heard that people who can't participate will only get a C rating." Upon hearing this, Quinn immediately stretched out her feet. Seeing this, Calvin thought to himself, "She cares so much about the rating that she immediately stretched out her feet as soon as she heard about it." After that, Calvin massaged her feet. Quinn, on the other hand, was comfortably enjoying it on the side, occasionally making satisfied sounds. I have to say, this guy's massage skills are quite good. After a few minutes, Calvin wiped the sweat off his face and spoke. "It looks like you are also getting comfortable. I am tired too. Shall we call it a day?" However, Quinn said, "Oh no, please continue massaging. It's very comfortable." Calvin was speechless when he heard that. This guy is addicted to getting massages now. She wants to repay Calvin for his massage. She ended up cooking a table full of dishes for Calvin as a token of gratitude for the massage. After finishing the dinner, Calvin should be heading back. He saw lightning flashing outside, with thunder rumbling and the wind and rain mixing together. He asked while tying his shoelaces, "How long do you think this rain will last? Did the weather forecast mention anything?" Quinn looked at his phone and said, "This extreme weather will persist until tomorrow morning." Calvin heard this and was speechless. He wondered, "What should we do?" He thought about whether to spend the night here. Quinn won't bring this up on his own. I'd never make such a request. He waved goodbye to Quinn. He then opened the umbrella. After he had taken just 2 steps, Quinn grabbed his clothes. "Why don't you wait here for a while before leaving?" However, Calvin removed her hand. Shortly afterwards, he walked away holding the umbrella, and Quinn watched his receding figure. She couldn't help but worry about him in her heart. After all, it's quite dangerous on such a rainy day. This idiot. If he had just said something like, "The rain is too heavy. Can I stay here tonight?" I would have definitely agreed. But the last thing I said clearly was meant to keep him, although it was a bit subtle. He's such an idiot. Soon she came to the balcony to see where Calvin had gone, but still didn't find his figure. She thought for a moment. She still didn't trust the guy. While he hasn't gone too far yet. She wanted to call Calvin to ask him to come back, but she couldn't reach him. She was in such a hurry that she ran out without bringing an umbrella. Please be careful and don't have an accident. At this moment, Calvin is walking alone with an umbrella, taking difficult steps. The road is dark, the weather is cold, and the rain is heavy. Should he go back? Forget it. He will definitely be laughed at by her if he goes back now. At that moment, he suddenly missed a step, stumbling and falling to the ground. He stood up again and continued on his way. And at this moment, a voice interrupted him, making him freeze. "Calvin, stop! Stop!" He saw Quinn running towards him, panting heavily. She didn't even bring an umbrella. "Calvin, come back with me. It's still a long way from the school. The road you are walking on is very unsafe." She turned around and went back, with Calvin following closely behind. He said, a little moved, "Quinn, thank you for caring about me." "No need to thank me. And don't overthink it. I just feel that if something happens to you, I would blame myself. Calvin thought to himself. At a time like this, can't you say something more positive? At this point, he walked up and also shared half of the umbrella with Quinn. Come a bit closer, otherwise the umbrella won't cover you, he said. They walked like this for a while. Quinn suddenly sneezed. Calvin, seeing this, put his arm around her shoulder, bringing them closer, and also giving her more of the umbrella. After Quinn saw this, she thought he was trying to take advantage. She angrily said, What are you doing? Then she pinched him again. Calvin winced in pain, revealing a look of agony. He then scolded her. Is it amusing to catch a cold from being rained on, or do you really find me that detestable? You'd rather be soaked by the rain than come near me even a little bit. Quinn heard the hesitant words and said, Okay, I won't move outward anymore. Could you please remove your hand? Just like that, they hurried back home under the dim light. At that moment, Calvin calmly said, We're almost there. Please take out the key and unlock the door. And after Quinn took out the key, she deflated, saying, Sorry, I was in a hurry earlier and forgot to bring the front door key. I only brought the key to the gate. So, you mean we'll have to spend the night under the eaves at the front door tonight? Calvin's heart shattered upon hearing this. His mouth involuntarily twitched. On a stormy, rainy night, the boy not only turned his back on the girl, but also took off his shirt. He also took off his pants and suggested that the girl take off all her clothes too. It turns out that just now, they were caught in the rain and took shelter under the eaves. Calvin glanced at Quinn. He found that her clothes were all soaked. He said lightly, Quinn, you must never sleep in this kind of weather. Otherwise, you might catch a cold lightly or even pneumonia severely. Quinn snorted coldly upon hearing that. Calvin continued, My soaked clothes need to come off, or I'll get sick. Also, I suggest you take off your clothes. Being naked is better than wearing wet clothes, Calvin advised. Quinn hesitated for a moment, and then took off his clothes. Immediately, she felt uncomfortable and thought to herself, My clothes are soaked through, and it's really uncomfortable. Calvin noticed that she didn't respond for a long time, so he continued, It's up to you. If you decide to take them off, I promise I won't peek. Quinn couldn't help but feel touched when he heard it. It's really strange that this smooth-talking person suddenly became serious. He actually seems quite charming. Even stranger, I actually have an involuntary impulse to listen to what he says. Then she said arrogantly, You undress, I'll stay dressed. Calvin, upon hearing this, began to undress. Just at that moment, his belt fell off and hit his foot, causing him to cry out in pain. Quinn turned around with a worried expression. She accidentally saw Calvin taking off his pants. She immediately blushed and turned her head upon seeing it, feeling a bit embarrassed. After a while, Quinn noticed that it was a bit windy, so she asked Calvin to come closer to her. Calvin, upon hearing this, couldn't help but become uneasy. What's going on? Is she still holding a grudge, trying to get me closer to beat me up again? Immediately he joked, You're not trying to take advantage of me, are you? Quinn felt anger rising in his heart, and immediately wanted to slap him, but when he saw him bare-armed, she immediately turned her head. Calvin couldn't help but burst into a big smile when he saw this. Later, he found out that Quinn wanted him to help block the wind for her. They stood back to back like this, not knowing how long they had been standing here. Occasionally, they would also exchange a few words. When Calvin went to check if his clothes were dry, he passed by a window. He didn't know where the courage came from, but he punched the glass of the window. At the moment the glass shattered. His hand was also injured. Quinn quickly ran over when he saw the situation. She looked at Calvin's injured hand. Her eyes were full of heartache and reluctance. But then she reprimanded him, and Calvin remained silent. Afterward, they climbed in through this broken window. Calvin wanted to dry his clothes before wearing them, but unfortunately, the power outage here prevented him from doing so. So he asked Quinn if there were any other clothes here that he could wear. Quinn said lightly, "If you don't mind, you can wear mine." Upon hearing this, Calvin couldn't help feeling embarrassed for a moment. "Do you want me to cross-dress?" After that, he asked Quinn to pick out some neutral clothes. In no time, Quinn came back with a white t-shirt and a pair of super short denim shorts. Calvin, seeing this, was furious and said, "Why are you giving me a pair of hot pants to wear as a big man? Show off my hairy legs?" She saw my injured hand and then she quickly brought some medicine. She said while helping me apply the medicine, "Luckily your hand didn't get pierced by the glass, otherwise it would have been troublesome." And I felt waves of intense pain in my hand. This made me unable to help but frown and scream out loud. She saw the situation and scolded, "Is there such a cowardly man like you? Your injuries are all just superficial wounds. How can they be so painful?" Seeing that she softened her approach, I said, "You don't understand. This is my philosophy of survival. Always show weakness in everything. Start by saying, 'I can't do it. It's difficult and painful for me.' This way, even if I fail, I won't be laughed at. Also, appearing vulnerable makes it easier to receive others' care. Do you understand?" I heard that she helped me bandage the wounds on my hands. She turned and went upstairs, saying that she couldn't do it, and that doing it too many times made her feel like she really couldn't do it. I fell silent for a moment as soon as she spoke. What she said seemed to make some sense. I'll just go to sleep first, regardless. The next day, I woke up naturally. I shouted loudly to Quinn, "Quinn, wake up! Where is your spare toothbrush?" She didn't respond even after I called her several times. "I'll go upstairs and see what's going on." I was about to knock on the door when I found it unlocked. So I pushed the door open and saw that she was acting a bit strange. I asked her what was wrong. She said she seemed to have a fever. I touched her forehead, and indeed it was very hot. After I took her temperature, I found it was almost 40 degrees. So I hurried to call a car, only to realize that the traffic was paralyzed due to heavy rain last night, and no one was available for pickup. At that moment, I went to the balcony to see what was happening. At a glance, I was shocked to see that I didn't expect the water on the road to be so deep. "This is not good, Quinn. There is no fever-reducing medicine at home. She has a high fever now, and must go to the hospital. We can't wait any longer." So I went to the room and said, "Quinn, I'll take you to the hospital." She heard it, but was too weak to respond. The outside water should be very deep, right? And I don't have the strength to walk now. After hearing that, I said, "I'll carry you." So I carried her and found out that she was quite light. After walking for a while, she said slightly awkwardly, "Is your hand injury still hurting?" A true man should be tough and not bothered by external wounds. I hadn't finished speaking when suddenly my foot stepped on empty space. Quinn pressed down hard on my back. At this moment, blushing, she scolded angrily, "Can't you watch the road?" And I felt her body about to slide off my back. So, I supported her buttocks with one hand and lifted her up a bit. I looked at the whirlpool next door. I thought to myself that if I stepped here, I would definitely slip and fall flat on my face. At that moment, Quinn blushed and said, "It's safe now. You can change your hand placement to somewhere else." Upon hearing this, I slightly twitched my mouth and said, "I'm sorry, I just zoned out for a moment." The girl got drizzled on for a bit. She unexpectedly developed a high fever, nearly reaching 40 degrees. I carried her on my back and walked along the waterlogged road. I don't know how long it took, but we finally arrived at the hospital. The doctor immediately gave her an antipyretic injection upon seeing the situation. After taking the cold medicine, we waited in the hospital until the accumulated water on the road subsided before returning. We just arrived at her house. I told her to rest well. I'll help her cook something to eat," she said softly in response. "Thank you for that." I see her hesitate to speak. It seems like she still has something to say. I asked then, "Do you have something else to say?" She lowered her head in silence for a while, and then said lightly, "There's actually nothing much to say. I just wanted to say, you are better than most of the boys I have met." Upon hearing this, I jokingly retorted, "Aren't I better than all boys?" She heard this but took it seriously. She replied, "I still have my dad and grandpa. Although you're not bad, it may not be true. I just said nice things to repay your care over the past 2 days." Seeing the situation, I continued to joke, "If you call me dad, I guarantee I will treat you even better than they do." Quinn, upon hearing this, directly threw a slipper at me. Luckily, I reacted quickly and ran after closing the door. After some time passed, I cooked the meal and called her to come down to eat. She came down and asked eagerly, "Let me see what we are having for dinner tonight." When she saw that it was all vegetables, her face instantly turned extremely dark. I explained right away, "Your body has just started to recover a bit, so you shouldn't eat too much greasy or spicy food. Something simple would be better. Dad, I am." I hadn't finished speaking when she immediately interrupted and said, "What did you just say?" Upon hearing this, I awkwardly said, "I was just practicing English. I was just saying, but." After saying that, I thought to myself, "It seems like she really minds being called Daddy still." She smiled slightly at the scene. After eating, I helped her wash the dishes before I left. As soon as I got back home, I started my gaming journey. Just as I was engrossed in playing, my phone rang. After seeing that it was Quinn, I put on my headphones to answer her call. "Where are you now? Why aren't you replying to any messages or saying anything? I thought you got jumped halfway by some thugs. Where I go and what I do is none of your business. The only people who can manage me are my parents, teachers, and future wife. I haven't approved you to be my wife yet, so why are you in such a hurry to control me? What nonsense are you talking about? Even if I end up lonely and old, I would never choose a loser like you to be my husband. You're right, you're not my wife. Why do you care so much about what I do?" I haven't finished speaking, and she hung up on me. At this time, Quinn has his hands on his hips. She angrily said, "Even if I were to marry a toad, I wouldn't consider that guy for a husband. How dare my husband make jokes like this?" After the boy finishes playing the game happily, he starts to regret his behavior just now and swears that he will never play again in the future. Does this sound like you in front of the screen? After rewarding yourself, you swear that you will never reward yourself again next time. When I am resting in bed. I was resting on the bed when suddenly a message came on my phone. I looked and found out it was Grace, whom I met some time ago. She wanted me to accompany her to the campus festival. I thought it would be nice to watch the show and eat at the same time. It feels good. So I arrived at the scene with her. After we sat down, I looked over at her. Under her straight nose is a cherry-like small mouth. Her skin is fair. Seeing this, I couldn't help but blush a little. Where exactly am I looking at? At that moment, Grace looked at me and asked, "Calvin, why is your face so red? Are you feeling unwell?" Upon hearing this, my face got even redder. I quickly defended myself. "Is it? No, not at all." "Of course there is." After saying that, she pointed at my face with her finger and jokingly said, "Both sides of your face are so red, just like a monkey's buttocks." I smiled along as I noticed. And this scene shocked others for the whole year when they saw it. What's going on with Grace there? Everyone heard, and their eyes turned towards our direction. This made them full of envy, jealousy, and hatred. After watching the performance for a while, I asked Grace how she knew today was the literary club's festival day. Because I have been paying attention. I heard that the literary club is recruiting new members recently. Do you want to give it a try? Is the literary club about crosstalk and sketch comedy? That's just a small part. The main focus is on speeches and debates, and even singing. Listening to her talk, I realized that speeches and debates are what I'm good at. Maybe I can really give it a try. I don't know how long it has passed, but the show finally ended. As Grace was leaving, she looked at me and said, "Calvin, come to the literary club later and give it a try. I'll be waiting for you there, okay?" I heard a nod. 2 days later, I received a message from Quinn. She asked me to meet in a place with fewer people. I didn't wait long at the Tizak Club. She arrived shortly after, complaining about the scorching weather. After we pressed the appointment button on the smart band, our official date began. Quinn learned from last time and took the initiative to approach me this time, although the atmosphere is a little awkward. But fortunately, in no time, the smart band sent a prompt indicating that the target had been achieved. The next task is testing the heart rate speed. At this moment, Quinn asked me, "Is there a gym here?" I knew she wanted to increase her heart rate by running, so I brought her to the gym. It was only then that I realized I didn't bring my gym clothes. I forgot to bring my workout clothes. Quinn immediately reached into her bag and handed out a workout outfit, saying, "Go change your clothes." Seeing this, I exclaimed, "You are really well prepared." After changing into our clothes, we started running. After running for a while, I noticed that Quinn was sweating a lot. I muttered to myself, "Is she really that weak?" Just then, Quinn's smart band alerted her that her heart rate had reached the target. Upon hearing this, I was taken aback and asked, "What about mine?" However, the smart band reminded me that I had not reached the target yet. At this point, I found that Quinn was still running. It seems she is really working hard for a high score. In no time, I saw her drenched in sweat. She was panting heavily. So I advised, "Why don't you stop and take a rest?" No, the first 2 dates rating was already terrible. I saw her not listening to advice and still continuing to run. I directly went up and turned off her treadmill. Quinn, seeing this, angrily asked, "What are you doing?" "I can see that you are already at your limit, so I helped you to stop." To be honest, you were also hesitating whether to stop or not. I just helped you make a decision. I want a high score. "I have no choice," she said helplessly. I said, "Beautiful and clever Quinn, don't you think your method is very stupid?" "Then you should come up with a smart solution yourself," she gasped. "As far as I know, when people drink alcohol to a certain extent, their heart rate will also increase." Quinn heard looking straight at me with both eyes and said, "Crazy psycho! What do you want? Invite me out and get me drunk, then do whatever you want, right?" Her values are really strange. In her eyes, she actually thinks that taking care of her when she's sick is all for money. After she recovered from the illness, she immediately transferred money to me and even said that the interaction between friends ultimately boils down to an exchange of interests. Listening to her talk, I was speechless. Just now, her smart band reminded that the current date has ended. She immediately stepped forward and grabbed my neck. She said angrily, "I asked why you dared to talk nonsense to me last night. I heard that when I raised the white flag directly, surrendering, you let go. Can you please let go after she lets go so I can explain? I was playing games at night, that's why I acted that way. Weren't you fine just now? How did your attitude change suddenly?" "That's because cooperation is needed for a date. That's why I gave you a warning. The date is over, and you still don't know how to behave. So you deserve the consequences." After saying that, she pinched my neck again, just as I screamed in pain. "Wow!" Her phone rang. Her friend told her that the results of the 3 dates are out, and she can now log into the school's official website to check. She immediately went to check upon hearing the news. She found that her results were surprisingly 2 Cs and 1 B. This made her face darken instantly. Seeing this, I comforted her by saying, "Your results in other subjects are very good. 2 CS are not a big deal. Let's work harder next time, and then you will be able to get an excellent grade in this subject." "But this can't change the 2 CS she got before," she said a bit dejectedly. Not knowing what to say upon hearing this, I then suggested, "How about we go have some afternoon tea together to cheer up?" "No need. Last time when I was sick, you took care of me very well. So to repay you, what is your bank account number? I'll transfer money to you." Saying this, she took out her phone to transfer money to me. I suddenly became serious upon seeing this. "Do you think I only take care of you for money? Am I not doing it right?" she asked in confusion. I said a little angrily, "Is this how you also interacted with your previous friends?" "My previous friends helped me, and I always reward them. For example, I would pay for things like shopping. Since you are a guy and dislike shopping, that's why I plan to transfer money to you." Upon hearing this, I became even angrier. "Who taught you to behave like this? Is there really no one who opposes you doing this?" "How could there be? They are so happy that they can't contain themselves. Why would anyone oppose? As for who taught you, you don't need to worry about that. Anyway, I have been taught since I was young that dealing with anyone ultimately involves the exchange of interests. Isn't that the case?" Hearing this, I fell silent for a moment. This woman is really unique. So I said, "That's definitely not true. Don't apply this pattern to me. Just apologize for this incident because it really annoys me." "Apologize? How about I compensate you in a different way?" Quinn has a hard time letting go of his pride and said, "No, otherwise we'll just treat each other as strangers in the future." After saying that, I turned around and left. I did my best to take care of her, but I didn't expect that in her eyes, it was all for a purpose. Forget it. I thought I could establish a friendship with her, but I guess it was just wishful thinking on my part. Quinn looked at my departing figure, feeling at a loss. "Why are you so strange? Come back."